Hello and welcome to Quassi's Bell Tower with your host, Quassi. And today we're going to make magnetic dungeon tiles 2.0. So let's get to it. Before we start this project, I do have to explain that you are going to need one of these Proxxon Thermo hot wire cutters. There's no other way around this project. It just won't come out right if you're using an X-Acto knife or just a sharp blade or whatever. You can get these on Amazon. I'll put a link down for it. They're roughly $120 to $125. Yes, I know that's a lot of money, but if you want to make these tiles, or you're into the whole terrain crafting for dungeon tiles or whatever else, this is the best tool out there. You could go and ask Black Magic Craft or John from Dungeons and Gluesticks. They'll definitely tell you this is definitely worth the money. It's probably going to be the most expensive thing you'll ever have to buy. Hopefully you won't have to buy anything like this again. I've had this now for a few years. I love this device. So let's move on and let's get started. Okay, so what we're going to use for this is, I'm going to use some scraps that I have, but it's 3/4 inch thick foam insulation board. We're going to use that. What we're going to do is we're going to make some 3 inch by 3 inch squares. So I'm going to go ahead and set this up on the hot wire cutter. Lock that in place. Turn that bad boy on and let's get cutting. Okay, so now that we've got our 3 inch by 3 inch blocks out of the way, we are going to take our magnet here, and it's about it's like a ½ inch, and we're just going to line this up with the cutter. I mean, you could set it at a ½ inch if you want, but I'm going to set it up to the size of the magnet. It's just touching that wire. Tighten that down, and now you're going to take your block and you're just going to go put it up on the side and just cut it through just like that. Okay. And if you see there, boom. There's a ½ inch, there's a 1/4 inch. You might want to check your temp when you're doing this. When I first start pushing it through, I noticed it was a little on the hot side. So you might want to put that at a lower setting. Mine's on 4, probably should be on 3 or so. Okay, so now that we've got that done, we are going to take that block that we had right here, and I'm going to set this up, turn this off, set this up so it's only as thick as this magnet. And it's not pushing on the wire, just basically touching it. You hear that little bang in there, that's about the perfect, maybe a little bit more, but you'll have to work with it a little bit. That's probably about pretty good. Just get that noise in there. So now you're going to take the bottom piece, the bigger piece, the ½ inch piece now. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn this on, and all we're going to do is cut each side of this. So it's about an 1/8, maybe a 1/16 inch thickness on that magnet. But you're just going to run this through on all 4 sides. And the one thing that's good about all this extra here is you can turn these pieces into later into shingles for roofing for buildings if you want. if you know how to do that. So now, if you look, it's about an 1/8 or a 1/16 inch around if you try to center that. And so your magnet, when we're done painting this and everything else, of course you'll have to cut the magnet to the right side, and you'll have to try to center these the best you can. But if you look, they should be pretty much flush all the way around when you do that. So it's basically going to look like that. I hope you guys can see that. Now that we got our two halves, what we're going to do is this is the top half and this is the bottom. We're going to take some tacky glue and put some on the bottom piece. Now you want to make sure you don't go all the way to the edge, because you don't want this to protrude over. Then you got to wipe all that glue off, because you don't want that excess there, because it'll mess with the how well the magnet sits on it when you're done. So then we'll just take this top and put it on, centering it the best you can. Go ahead and push down on it. Kind of make sure the magnet will be pretty flush with it. Most of this you can just eyeball, but just make sure that looks good. And you definitely want your lines, your cuts that you did, as straight as possible, because sometimes if you have too much, it's hard for the two magnets to be flush with each other. And then you're just going to let that dry and then come back to it later. Okay, I have let these dry now. I'm still going to have to prime and paint them and everything else. But before you do any of that, if you want, you can go ahead and do your 3x3 inch, 1-inch grid on this before you glue them together. Now, when I glued these and then let them dry, I should have probably put some weight on them. When I first made these, I did these inside my house where it wasn't so hot. Well, I noticed with these, after I put them on, if you guys can see that, probably not. I wish you guys could. There's kind of a bit of a gap in some of these. Maybe that's a better example right there. I know you guys can't probably see it really that well. But there's a little bit of a gap. When I did these in the house, I didn't seem to have that problem at all. But with it being so warm outside here, I think it kind of dried and didn't quite, I don't know, it just didn't seal right. But I'm going to use these anyways, but I just want to let you guys know when you do these, make sure you put some on top of them to keep them from having a big gap in the top, because I didn't have this problem when I did these inside the house. One more thing I want to mention is not all foam insulation is 100% flat or even. If you guys can see this, I hope you guys can. This piece is pretty good. And then you look here, and it's like here and here. Maybe that could be from the way I cut it. It possibly could be. But I noticed with some pieces, it's really narrow here and then it widens. So I don't think 100% of all foam insulation is 100% square. I noticed that with my other tiles when I made them too, and they were 100% flat to the thing, and I could still see how they weren't 100% really flat. I think the surfaces sometimes do get a little bit of a wavy groove in them, because that's kind of how that one looks to me. But it could be because maybe they're a little warped, who knows. But I really don't think all 100% of foam insulation is 100% flat, because I'm sure that's not really one of their big concerns when they're making that material for you to put in your house. I mean, if it's off by a little bit, I'm sure it's not going to make a difference when you're putting insulation in your house or garage or wherever you're putting it. But that's it. So if you want, go ahead, put your 1-inch graft on there on both sides, and then we'll work on the pattern. Okay guys, so now I've got my grafts on here, my 1-inch squares here on this piece here. Hopefully you guys can see that pretty well. We are going to make them deeper, but that was just with a pen, just marking that at 1 inch and 2 inch. I'm sure I've explained this before, and I'm sure most of you totally understand that. Now I'm doing a wooden tile one. Now they're done every 1/4 inch. You mark it every 1/4 inches, and then you just do a line all the way through that way, and then you come up to the other way and you mark 1 inch here and 1 inch here, and then space it every other board. You'll put a little line through, or you can do it every 2, however you want to do it. But I'm going to do it like that. I'm going to take my little owl or little hole poker here thing I got here, and I'll mark it and make it look like there's nails in the edges all along here and all along where the boards connect. So I'll do that. I'll also go through with my utility knife and make the lines a little bit deeper, and also go on through with this and make these lines a little bit wider and help spread it and make it a little deeper itself without going all the way through the 1/4 inch foam there. And then I will use a file and I'll do the wood on there. I'm sure you guys seen me do it before. I swear I have a video on it. Hopefully I do. If not, there's other crafters out there that also do it too. Just keep an eye out for it. Okay, a quick little tip for you in case you don't know. Always make sure when you're doing your tiles, especially your wooden tiles, that your main part here, these lines here, that are your main part, that the lines, when you make these lines, they are going with the grain and not against. Yeah, I mean, this is going with the grain here. Of course, that's going against. You are going to have some little bit of tear. It does happen no matter how hard you try not to do it. You always end up with some. It's no big deal. It makes it look good. But what I did here is, when I did the lines here, I realized I went the wrong way with them, and there was really nothing I could do. The only thing I don't like is I use a wire brush here. Sorry guys, a wire brush here, and I always put my lines with the wire brush across, through, going with the grain. I don't know if you guys can probably see some of those lines, but they're really rough, and it's because I'm going against the grain, so it's kind of like making tiny little rips, and maybe it'll look good, maybe it'll give it some more aging to it when I make it. But when you're doing these lines, always make sure you're going with the grain of the material. If you look at your material, you can see little lines. Wish I could find a good piece. Hope you guys can see that. That would indicate which way your lines are going, like which way the grain's going. So the lines are all kind of going that way. All the material's kind of going like that. So you know that that is going to be the best way to do your long lines. And when you do your take your wire brush and you go against that, it won't rip it as bad, and it'll actually give it a better wooden texture look. Hopefully you guys can see that. It probably will rip it a little bit. The best bet is to use a wire brush that's used and beat up. I have one. I think it's in the house. I'm out in the garage right now, so I'm just using one of the new ones. They seem to work better, the used ones. But I just wanted to give you guys that tip, just in case you guys didn't know. Okay, now hopefully we're on to the last step. I already went and primed and painted and also sealed my tiles with Midwax, polyurethane, fast drying, clear satin. So get a thing of this. Black Magic Crafts, Jeremy from Black Magic Crafts talked about this before. This is an awesome item. It gives it a nice little clear coat, nice shine, almost gives it like a wet look. It looks really nice. Okay, so now what we're going to do now is we're going to put the magnets on here. I have a test subject here, which is great, but if you don't, you're going to have to make your basically, your first tile you make is going to have to be your test subject. So from here to here is 2 7/8 in length, and each side you're gonna do a magnet, measure it out, and cut it for that size. Now the magnets I use, I got these at Walmart. They're called magnetic tape strips. You can get these for 97 cents at Walmart. Yes, I've done a video on these before, if you guys remember, for only 97 cents. It's an 18 pack. You get 3 sleeves. Each sleeve has 6 of them on there, so that makes 18. So there you go. That's them. I'll put a link on them. I don't know if Walmart has them on their website. They probably do, but you can easily go there and get them yourself. So I went ahead and pre-measured these out to 2 7/8 already. So I'm going to go ahead and cut some of these. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cut these now. These extra pieces you can save for future projects, especially when you're doing other tiles that are where you need like an extra inch or so of magnet. You'll have it right here, so don't get rid of these. Keep them, just, you know, put them away somewhere. Okay, so let's make our first one, and like I said, this one will probably more likely be your test subject from now on, or whatever one you want. Usually these ones are the best ones, or the 4-inch ones are the best ones for test subjects. However you want to do it will work. Okay, so we're just going to take this first magnet, and basically he's going to be the one. And when you do this with these magnets, the part where the sticky part is, that's the part you're going to put the super glue on. Okay, so go ahead and run a bead all the way down it. Slap that bad boy on there. It should dry pretty quick. Okay, then you'll take your next one. I'm going to hold this down for now because it's still drying, and you're just going to plop it on there and figure out what side of this magnet seems to be the best side to stick this on. I will say that some of these do not always center up 100%, so you got to kind of work with them a bit. The first set I ever did of these, they lined up perfect, and then I kept buying these magnets and it seemed like they were off just a hair maybe sometimes. Just to let you know. Okay guys, I have officially finished them. All 4 sides have magnets on them. So here we go. They're stuck together, staying together, and there you go. Magnetic Dungeon Tiles 2.0. So there you guys go, Magnetic Dungeon Tiles 2.0. So please comment, subscribe, and like always, ring that like button like a hunchback. Until next time.